Chapter 507, Dead End. Pierre and the bar waiter locked eyes with Lumian and the others, their bloodshot gaze shifting from vacant to sheer terror. In hushed tones, they uttered frantically, You folks are aware that there's derangement here." Abruptly, Pierre's face contorted, and he bellowed in hysteria, "None of you can leave. Once the outsiders catch wind of this, we're all done for." He swiftly maneuvered through the steam locomotive's open window, attempting to climb in and forcefully pull Lumian and the others out. In response, Lugano rose to his feet, delivering a powerful blow with his right fist. With a resounding thud, Pierre slumped, unconscious, hanging awkwardly from the window. The bar waiter, seemingly unhinged, trampled over the fallen man, attempting to leap into the carriage. Lugano struck again, his punch rendering the bloodshot-eyed bar waiter unconscious. He slumped over Pierre, creating an unusual tableau. They didn't abnormally transform into monsters. Lumian had previously speculated that the two town folks had succumbed suddenly to derangement. Turning to Lumian, Lugano inquired in a low voice, "What do we do?" "What do we do?" Lumian echoed the doctor's inquiry. The unfolding events not only displayed an abnormality, but also left him with a sense of inner conflict and displacement. The peculiar derangement, causing people to lose their sanity and transform into canine-like creatures, coupled with the consecutive onset of various illnesses, unmistakably hinted at supernatural forces at play. However, the mystery deepened as Pierre and the other townsfolk, who were evidently concerned about keeping derangement a secret, freely disclosed the information to Lumian. This apparent contradiction could be attributed to Pierre's overwhelming mental stress, pushed to the brink. Lumian's mention of future sickness served as the tipping point, prompting Pierre to instinctively guard the secret from leaking when reminded. Yet the lingering question persisted, why not escape? Faced with an infectious and unstoppable derangement, wouldn't it be prudent for ordinary humans to flee Dartle and return once the plague had subsided? Even if they feared attracting attention from the authorities by fleeing, a temporary escape into the nearby mountains after addressing those potentially afflicted could provide a solution. Unless there was some force preventing the citizens of Dartle from escaping. Lumian deduced this from various details. The townsfolk were cognizant of similar derangement cases elsewhere, resulting in entire villages being wiped out by the authorities. Normally, such incidents would be reported as a tragic disaster with everyone buried. After the initial infection, key figures like the cathedral's clergyman, the police, and health department officials succumbed to madness, severing Dartle's connection with regional authorities from the start. It appeared as if an intelligent and dangerous individual deliberately spread derangement, employing tactics to hinder the townsfolk from escaping. Why would this mastermind allow Pierre and others to divulge the situation to the doctor on the steam locomotive? If the steam train were to stay in Dartle, unable to reach Port Gaddy by the next morning, it would undoubtedly attract official beyonder investigation. Lumian, thinking from the mastermind's perspective, considered it illogical to choose a transportation hub regularly frequented by steam locomotives. Even without Lumian's inquiries, those choosing to enter Dartle to sleep under a warm blanket and sample beautiful frogs would eventually notice the abnormality, raising suspicions. They couldn't all be made to stay behind, could they? This would lead to an investigation. There are many contradictions, inconsistencies, and inexplicable aspects. He's smart yet foolish, cautious yet careless. Lumian, contemplating the intricacies, turned to Lugano and said, "What else can we do? Of course, we have to find a way to inform the authorities about this. Don't tell me you want to investigate the source of the derangement and save the residents here, do you? I didn't expect you to be so noble." Lugano smiled awkwardly. The latter possibility had never crossed his mind. "How should we inform the authorities?" he asked sincerely, admitting his lack of experience in such matters. "The simplest solution is to get the train police here and tell them what Pierre said. Have them use the train's radio to contact the relevant departments in the Faust area or the Upper Coastal Province," Lumian suggested casually. However, Lugano hesitated, expressing concern, "But as witnesses, will be invited to assist in the investigation." "Oh, our identities are fake, And even if we use your mystical item to change our appearances, it's easy to expose that we're beyonders under the influence of some mysticism abilities. Lumion pondered for a moment and offered an alternative with a smile. Then find an empty room on the platform, pile dozens of bundles of explosives, and detonate them. The explosion will send the roof flying, destroying the house. This way, the conductor and the train police will report it quickly, and the officials in the Faust area will take notice. When they investigate further, they'll discover the hidden problem in Dartle. How about that? We won't need to personally show our faces in this plan, right? Lugano considered the proposal but raised another concern. When the authorities investigate further, they'll discover that we've interacted with Dartle's residents. They'll worry that we might also be in danger of contracting derangement. When the time comes, we won't be able to pass the scrutiny. Lumion felt a twinge of frustration, recalling how he and his sister had been trapped in Cordu after the abnormality. Everything they did had its cons. He chuckled and said, "Then investigate the source of the derangement personally and blast it into pieces. This will completely resolve the problem without attracting the officials' attention." Ludwig, who had consumed countless suppers, swallowed the deep-fried potato pie in his mouth and calmly said, "After informing the authorities about derangement, why stay here and wait for them to investigate? Can't we just leave, change our identities, and take another steam locomotive to another port?" Lumion was taken aback. Why hadn't I thought of such a simple idea? Just now, the more Lugano and I discussed, the deeper we delved into a dead end. We were entirely focused on finding a reason and excuse for entering Dartle to investigate the source of the derangement. A realization hit Lumion, and his heart skipped a beat. Nonchalantly, he gazed at Lugano, assessing the doctor's luck. The other party's luck in the future would also be tainted with a ghastly green. With a smile, Lumion said to Lugano, "You also have the possibility of contracting derangement." Lugano was taken aback for a moment before asking with a pale face, "Really?" "Think of it as a joke." Lumion turned his head, seemingly relaxed, and said to Ludwig, "See, there are many benefits to studying more. In the past, you wouldn't have thought of such a solution and only knew nothing but eating." Ignoring the hunter, Ludwig forked a piece of mutton into his mouth. "What should I do? What should I do?" Lugano muttered to himself, attempting to use his doctor powers on himself to see if he could be saved. Lumion interrupted him. "No rush. There's just a risk of contracting the illness. You just need to leave this place before you get truly infected." As he spoke, he stood up and walked out of the private room. "Where are you going?" Lugano blurted out. Lumion slipped his hands into his pockets and responded with a smile. "Inform the authorities about derangement." Lugano was momentarily at a loss for words and expressions. All he could do was watch in a daze as Lumion strolled out of the private room. Reaching the train's washroom, Lumion locked the door and activated the black mark representing spirit world traversal. His figure swiftly vanished, reappearing in apartment 702 at 9 Rue Orsay, Quartier de la Cathédrale commemorative in Trier. Neither Franca nor Jenna was asleep at this hour. One was engrossed in a novel, while the other contemplated what knowledge to impart to Rabbit Chasel. "Why are you back?" Franca jumped in fright. She had the illusion that she had just dropped him off at school in the morning and found him at home, legs up, eating snacks and watching television in the afternoon. Lumion glanced at Franca and smiled. "We encountered a Beyonder incident and wish to inform the authorities through your channels to have them resolve it." Franca exclaimed in surprise and amusement. "Why, you encountered another Beyonder incident? What a mysticism catastrophe detector." Jenna looked at Lumion and suddenly felt that it was a good thing for him to leave Trier. "I didn't want to either." Lumion spread his hands sincerely. Franca exhaled and said, "Where is it? What kind of incident?" "In Dartle in Upper Coastal Provinces, Faust region." Lumion briefly recounted the situation. Franca and Jenna were both surprised and terrified by the contagious derangement. Simultaneously, Franca muttered inwardly, "I wonder how Seven will react to this surprise. He's always telling me to get out of the market district. If I really do, he'll realize that not only will Beyonder cases in Trier's other districts pile up on him, the mystical catastrophes of Inti's other provinces will also descend upon him. Ah, that's right. What does it have to do with me? It's all Lumien's fault. Thankfully, this fellow is heading to the Fainapotter Kingdom in the future. No matter what Beyonder incidents he encounters, it's no longer Seven's problem. He can't possibly collaborate across borders. After explaining the situation in Dartle, Lumien didn't linger. He teleported back to the washroom of the steam locomotive's business carriage. He turned on the tap and washed his hands without hesitation. Then, he left the washroom and returned to the small private room. He said to Lugano, "The authorities will react soon. Let's prepare to leave." Lugano sprang to his feet. At that moment, the unconscious peer slowly regained consciousness, shaking the bar waiter off his body and landing on the platform. Lumien looked at him and smiled. "We'll stay and investigate the source of derangement. Can you tell me who Patient Zero was?" Who was it? Pierre didn't lose his mind and attack Lumien and the others like before. Instead, he fell into deep thought.